from the local Catholic Archbishop over the firing of a gay teacher in a same-sex marriage. RTV6 is working for you on all angles after covering this all week. Our Rafael Sanchez joins us now with the latest. Rafael.
Dissent for those who wanted to express their dismay on how the Indianapolis Archdiocese is dealing with educators involved in same-sex marriages. Let me show you what Drone Cam 6 was able to see as it went up in the air, this prayer circle outside of the Catholic Center, as dozens of people gathered to show their support for the teachers and to also express their concerns over what the church is doing. The Catholic Center, of course, is the headquarters for the Archdiocese, which represents more than 200,000 Catholics in central and southern Indiana. Those gathered here today at the Catholic Center called for the church to change how it deals with educators in civil unions. They prayed, they chanted, as well as they hoped that the Archbishop would hear what they had to say. Today, the Archbishop, the man that leads the flock, the man who often does prayer services and leads Mass here behind me at St. Peter's Paul Cathedral here in downtown Indianapolis, he's asking for prayer. He's also adding that the church, in his words, is not involved in a witch hunt.
We can't pick what parts of people we want to love, and I want to show to the Archdiocese that we're not here to be against you, but we want to work with you and work towards having it so that teachers, gay, and married, no matter what they are, who they decide to be, are able to be working teachers at schools, because being a teacher at a school and being fired should not be based on who you decide to be with at home, but rather the content of your character.
The voices of the people here who hope that the Archbishop and the Archdiocese will hear them. But the Archbishop says he will stand his ground, that he believes that marriage is between one man and one woman.
And these are difficult times where we're navigating through some very challenging times for our church and for our society.
Archbishop Charles Thompson confronting the controversy involving the church and several well-known Catholic schools in Indianapolis. He says he had no choice in enforcing church doctrine.
The dignity of marriage, the nature of marriage is one man and one woman. That is our church teaching. Both.
The Archbishop says 2 teachers, one at Brebeuf, one at Cathedral, are in violation of church rules and their employment contract, which requires employees to follow church doctrine. Cathedral fired their teacher. Brebeuf cut ties with the Archdiocese to keep their teacher. The Archdiocese made public today that it's been aware of this situation for the past 2 years, and church leaders have met with school principals to calm fears among existing staff.
We assure them, we remind them, hey, we're not going looking for this stuff. This is not, there's no type of witch hunt here. We're not looking for this stuff.
The Archdiocese has about 2,000 teachers across 67 schools. The superintendent of Catholic schools says they've taken action against other staff members who've gone against church positions on other issues like in vitro fertilization or divorce without an annulment.
I think what's important to note as well is that it is a privilege, not a right, to work and serve in our Catholic schools. And when individuals sign our ministerial language, they do so, we assume good faith when they do so.
The church today also revealing for the first time that in the recent cases, they were made aware of those educators from parishioners who reported them to the pastors, who then told the central office. The Archbishop tells us tonight that he is confident that the decisions he's made in these cases will be upheld by the Vatican. We're live outside of St. Peter and Paul Cathedral in downtown Indianapolis. Rafael Sanchez, now back to you.
Rafael, thank you. You know, RTV6 has been working for you from the beginning on this contentious issue, investigating both sides to bring you what you need to know. So let's take a look at how all of this unfolded. It started when RTV6 first told you last Thursday that Brebeuf Jesuit Preparatory School said it would be splitting with the Catholic Archdiocese of Indianapolis because the school refused to fire a gay teacher. The Archdiocese no longer recognizes it as a Catholic school. Brebeuf says it refused to fire a highly capable and qualified teacher who is in a same-sex marriage after the Archdiocese demanded the dismissal.
He's a longtime valued member of the school. He's an excellent teacher, highly qualified, so we've had open dialogue with him as well, and he feels very supported.
Brebeuf said this decision will not change the school's identity, and it will serve as a Catholic school still. The Archdiocese says Brebeuf can no longer use the name Catholic when labeling itself. Across town from Brebeuf, Cathedral High School decided to separate from a teacher in a same-sex marriage, bowing to pressure from the same Catholic Archdiocese that asked for the Brebeuf teacher to be fired. RTV6 wanted to know why the outcomes were different with such similar cases. The director of Catholic school programs at Marian University says it's all about who runs the school.
A lot of people see the Catholic Church and see it as very monolithic and kind of hierarchical. What they don't realize is in the world of Catholic schools, there are lots of different types of governance and ways that Catholic schools are operated.
Brebeuf is sponsored and run by the Midwest Jesuits and doesn't lean on the Catholic Church for much financially. Meanwhile, Cathedral says it depends on the church to keep its nonprofit status. While some Catholics believe this is the church's stance and that's it, the decision left Cathedral students wanting clarity. Well, Tuesday, administrators spent hours with students to explain. Students got the same lesson we got. There is a chain of command, and a school's autonomy relies on how dependent it is on the Catholic Church. One student told RTV6 it felt like Cathedral had been backed into the corner by the Archdiocese. But let's go back to how Cathedral says it would lose its 501c3 status as a nonprofit if it didn't fire the teacher. It would mean the school would then have to start paying federal taxes. But we talked to a law professor who says Cathedral gets its nonprofit status not from the church, but rather from the state of Indiana and the IRS. He said Cathedral doesn't necessarily need the Archdiocese to get that tax exemption. In our investigation, we also learned Cathedral got over $1 million in taxpayer money last year, but one state lawmaker is trying to stop that from happening again. We have that story and all of our coverage on this case right now on the IndyChannel.com and on the RTV6 mobile app.